Man, here's one. Right?
Okay. This is gonna be the actual start to the podcast now.
Nicotine.
Yeah.
The pouches that you put in your gum.
Yeah, the snus or what else? Zins.
Yeah.
Zins, snus.
Other than like ripping your gum open after 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
What's happening?
I have actually got no idea, but
I don't have an idea either.
so popular and common now.
It's getting really popular.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it because you're definitely not smoking a cigarette anyway.
Yeah. Because it used to be the case smoking a cigarette was cool.
Yeah.
Like that, like say my parents' generation.
Yeah.
Like you were cool if you were smoking a cigarette. Like that's why they like.
What do you think of someone that's smoking a cigarette now?
Yeah, no, I was thinking you're cool. Like no.
What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I plead the fifth. Anyway,
Cool.
And then that's phasing out. Vaping, is vaping still a thing?
Yeah. Malahide anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody under the age of 30 is walking around one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously I wasn't privy to that. And then now it seems to be the snus and the zin. Because the first time I was ever exposed to that was in Sweden. I think it's like a Scandinavian thing.
Yeah, perhaps.
That's where like it's been around there for ages. So we were over there for a competition. I think it was 2021.
That's around when I think they started.
Yeah, and everyone
They
was
definitely weren't a big thing here at all.
Yeah, everyone was on it there. I've never even tried it, so I actually don't even know what it does. Have you done?
No.
Yeah, I don't even know what the sensation is, but I've seen people like put it in and they get sick. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to fuck with that. Like,
So I've asked a few people
Yeah.
who I've seen with them. There's strength,
yeah.
obviously. So I think when you just have something that's too strong, makes you sick. But I still don't really understand. Like, it's obviously this concentrated portion of nicotine being absorbed very fast.
Gives you like a head high or something.
Head high.
See, okay,
But people do it like training.
Yeah.
People do it.
In competitions,
College.
in doing work.
Yeah.
I think I heard Huberman
Yeah.
talking about it and
Yeah, he,
how
like,
it's like a focus thing.
Pops one.
An upper decky like.
Yeah, an upper deck.
But you know what's interesting? When I was younger, I probably would have felt like embarrassed or something that I didn't know about it, or I didn't know what was up with it, or I would have been embarrassed to say like, oh, I've never gone near anything like that, and I wouldn't.
There used to be a pressure, like when you were younger, just to like conform to the standard. But nicotine pouches, why are they getting popular, and is there a negative side effect? I need to look into it a little bit. What comes to mind though is the fact you can do it inside. You can't really vape everywhere you are, but you could always just be popping an upper decky.
True.
No matter where you are.
True. And it's like
no one even knows.
Yeah. Yeah, but I have heard of like nicotine as a cognitive. I was gonna say cognitive enhancer. I don't know if it's an enhancer, but like it does something.
Helps you focus.
Helps you focus? Is that true?
Maybe. Yeah. I don't really know what it does, and my gut says this is a negative side effect.
Yeah,
my gut
you get addicted to it, and then you're
addicted to it, and it's like you probably become reliant on it then to complete certain tasks.
Yeah,
because without it, your brain has become like, okay, I won't, pump these neurotransmitters until this is happening.
Where's the line? Because if you compare it to something like caffeine,
man,
why is caffeine okay?
I like caffeine, but I realise some people go hard on the caffeine.
Yeah.
Man, if Clarice listens to this, she told me she was like 8 cans a day, bro.
8 cans of what, man?
Monster. No.
Yeah, no, but specify that.
She doesn't drink at all.
8 cans
it's like, at first it's like, oh, you don't drink, it's fine. Yeah. Now it's like, bro, that's like 80 cans of Monster in 10 days. Bro.
Yeah, no, that's not okay. You can't be doing that.
But she's still kicking.
Do you drink Monsters?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't. I took a break from them. I probably haven't drank a Monster in... Oh, that's a lie. I've had like the occasional...
Yeah.
The odd one.
Same way with cigarettes.
Just the odd one. Just the odd cigarette. Like, after a stressful session. Guys...
when you're at 7.5 at 9.5 and someone on the side touched it because it was so slow.
I've had a few of those, in fairness. Why
am I doing this?
There's a lifter, like a well-known lifter, world champ. I'm not going to name him. I'm not going to name him, but go.
I'm going to name him if you say it.
If
I get it, go.
You know in your head. I'm pretty sure he's... Actually, I don't know if he ever won world championships, but European champion anyway. Who would like go out for smoke breaks like between lips.
Seymour. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Between his 40 sets of deadlifts.
Yeah.
What are we doing, man?
Man, we're blasting him lately.
He's pretty strong. Anyway.
Geez, this is an interesting start to the podcast now. Talking about upper deckies, talking about caffeine.
Yeah, I didn't mean to get into upper deckies.
Yeah.
Is that like an Australian thing to call them?
No, someone in the gym just said it, and then I was like, oh, that's
really?
funny. Yeah, caffeine. Where's the line with caffeine? How much caffeine do you consume a day?
I would try keep it on like the most I'm gonna consume.
Yeah.
On an average
On
day.
a normal day.
No more than. Okay, it gets blurry when you're towards the end of the block and you're like, right, I'm gonna bump up my caffeine before the session.
Yeah.
But that probably happens twice in that week.
Yeah.
And it's probably 400 milligrams.
Okay.
450,
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Right. Then a normal day would not surpass, because a monster's 150.
Yeah.
I've seldom had 2 monsters in one day.
Yeah.
And then coffee doesn't really have that much caffeine. If I have a coffee.
What is the caffeine in the coffee?
Keep talking, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, so
Jamie, look that up.
One of the things that I might butcher the numbers, but I'm pretty sure the dosage for like the best results or like the best efficacy maybe from caffeine is like between 3 and 6 milligrams per kilo of body weight. So if you are like 100 kilo
for training?
guy, yeah.
Okay.
And I think beyond 6 milligrams per kilo is when there's like no more like positive benefit that you see from it.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes like you're having like heart palpitations and it's like super uncomfortable. So I'd say for us between 300 and 600 milligrams.
For like when you're
Yeah, for like the
feel
optimal,
effect.
optimal dosage of
Okay.
it for like the acute increase in strength output and like the like altered perception of discomfort or like difficulty.
Do you want to tell them about your Hulk juice before Junior Nationals in 2024?
I don't even know about my
In
Hulk juice.
one 500ml bottle,
Oh,
he
yeah.
had 3 servings of green pre-workout. It was 900 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah, and
I asked him, was he going to space it out? It was gone.
Hey, I won that comp. So I won that comp and I'd probably set like a national record or something. I don't know.
Probably all of them. Guess how much caffeine's in a coffee. A shot of espresso.
100 milligrams.
63.
Oh,
Not that much.
no. I would have expected more.
So when someone's
So
like,
people are
I've had
getting-
3 coffees today, it's like,
Yeah, all right, you had a can of
okay.
Monster.
Yeah.
Okay, that's reasonable.
That's not that bad.
Is a Monster 200 or 180?
150.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, inflation going on here. They're cutting
probably
down
is,
on
yeah.
the... I swear it used to be 200. Or am I making that up?
There was definitely a point where it was 163.
Okay.
200 was rain. Remember that?
Okay, yeah.
And I think Celsius might have 200.
Okay.
Could be wrong on that.
Are they minging Celsius?
I'd say they're deadly.
Yeah, you reckon?
I'd say so.
They have them in the gym and they don't.
Oh yeah, I
look
used to have
nice.
them in Chicago. Yeah, they're nice.
Huh?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm an avid pre-workout guy.
Yeah.
I'd say
How often?
every day. Every day I have a scoop of free. Man, I'll take a scoop of free before we do a podcast. Like,
I know.
yeah. I won't be doing like
Are
I'm
you
not
training
doing
today?
it. Yeah. I
No.
will later. Yeah.
See, it's not.
No, I haven't going to trade today. The only day that I wouldn't take it is maybe on a Sunday, but normally on a Sunday I have to get through all my programs, so like I might take some for that as well.
That's crazy. That's great. It's crazy, but like it is just.
It's
quick.
reasonable. Yeah, it's and also I'm pretty sure like a serving of the pre-workout that I take it's 300 milligrams, but I'm pretty sure a serving is 2 scoops. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's 2 scoops. So I take 1 scoop.
It'd be so good.
Yeah.
It'd be so good. Okay, so you basically have Monster with a few bits of like beta-alanine and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting though. I remember there was a phase of training where I was training with someone else, kind of like a more experienced lifter,
Sugar daddy.
and they were saying like they don't take any sort of like pre-workout or caffeine before training. Don't need it. If you're like sleeping right and eating right, you just don't need it. It's totally fine. And I tried to do that for like 3 months, and all my training just felt so average. Like it just felt so meh. Like it was fine. All the training was good. I got through everything, but I just didn't have like a spark, you know. And then I was like, here, I think I saw Ertoni, the Spanish lifter Antonio Perez. I think he posted that he's like double scooping. So he's taking like 600 mgs of caffeine. And I was like, yo, I remember back in the day when I was like 17, I would take like 400 to 600 milligrams of caffeine before like every session at like 6 p.m. Let me start doing that again. And then I started doing it and it was like, oh, it's a drug. Like it's a drug,
nice.
brother. You'd be driving to the gym after you take your pre and colors are brighter, like music sounds better. It's crazy.
You know what shit?
What?
When you have a load of it and all that.
And nothing.
It's like the most depressed. That's when you smoke a cigarette. You're like, oh my god, nothing's working.
There was when I used to work like doing personal training in person, I would have to go in and do like evening sessions after doing like my primary squat or deadlift, where if I was in a comp prep, I would be taking like 600 milligrams plus. And then I'd be driving into work having heart palpitations, like having like crazy anxiety, like super jittery and uncomfortable, my heart beating out of my chest, and just like trying to talk myself down off the edge of a cliff. And that would consistently happen every single week. And then I was like, okay, maybe I need to stop this.
Do you like experience anxiety without caffeine?
No.
Ever?
Almost and then I was looking it up. I was like, why is this? And then it was kind of talking about the link between the physical sensations and then what we associate that to psychologically. So like kind of another way of explaining it is, like trying to access like your parasympathetic nervous system by like breathing really slowly. How when you do something like physical, it can alter the like psychological. And then vice versa. If something like physical is happening, if you're like really hot and uncomfortable and sweaty, that can make you feel more agitated, like psychologically. So that was basically kind of the explanation that I got to, was the physical sensation of like your heart racing and just being more alert. That is similar or associated to that perception of what anxiety would be. So it's just the closest like physical sensation that I could have to it, and then I would mentally attribute those physical sensations to anxiety. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would not get that normally, thankfully.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Interesting question there. Have you ever had like a panic attack or an anxiety attack or anything like that?
No. You?
No. But I heard someone describe it recently and I was like, damn, can't imagine that. Can't imagine what that would be like.
Man, so I don't know if you've looked into sleep much.
Yeah.
So during REM,
Yeah.
you're paralyzed because you're dreaming vividly. And so your body is paralyzed.
Yeah.
Sleepwalking is just when you're not paralyzed.
But you're still
Dreaming.
Have you ever sleepwalked?
No.
I think I have.
Really?
When I was like younger, like I would like someone would say to me, now I don't think anything major, anything crazy, like fucking walking out in the street and doing anything. But I think so. Definitely not common now, man. When I go to bed, I'm out like a life.
Yeah. Do you still do the pillow?
Actually, as I'm getting leaner, no.
Oh,
it's
really?
like I need less support now or something.
To circulate.
Yeah. I don't know if we've explained.
Andrew used to, we obviously travelled a lot over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I was astonished to come in and see Andrew stripping all the extra beds of pillows. Like, what are you doing? There's no way you sleep like this. Turns out he propped up his right arm, left arm, one under his knees. Wait, my feet are just definitely in frame.
Don't be shy, man.
One under his knees. Yeah. His arms and then his head, so he'd be like on like a floaty in a swimming pool. Yeah. It looked so relaxing.
Yeah, it was.
And why did you stop?
I think just as I was getting leaner, I just didn't need as much like body support. I think.
Okay.
But
you
yeah,
think the opposite?
Maybe
you had the cushion before.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't know why. Just sleeping is a little bit more comfortable now. Everything is more comfortable now.
The most passive activity is even easier now. So
no, you hear about that though. When you're getting heavier, like sleeping is impacted, and sleep apnea. Thankfully, I never had anything like that.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah.
Snoring and whatnot. I think a little bit snoring, but I don't think it got to the stage where it was problematic that I needed like a CPAP.
Man,
no CPAPs in the jungle.
I seen like your sleep cycle.
Yeah,
it's almost like a map, or can be mapped with your EEG as well. Like the brainwaves going on in your brain, they obviously just get slower the more unconscious you are. and they're very active during REM.
Yeah.
But that's why you have to be paralyzed, 'cause you're thinking so much or whatever. But man, people who have sleep apnea are waking like 100 times an hour.
Oh.
Yeah. It's
So they're just in out.
But they
but they're not consciously in out.
Yeah,
It's
they're
just,
probably like, you know, when you wake up and you're just like, oh, I'm
groggy,
going back
like,
to sleep.
Yeah.
So their EEG map never goes down in a cycle. It's just like this.
Man, do you know what? Okay, do you take like zinc and magnesium at all before bed?
Yeah.
Gives me the craziest dreams every time.
I wouldn't know because I
Consistently.
take it every day.
Yeah, same. But it gives me.
What's the weirdest dream you've had in the last 10 days?
I don't think I can even go into them. Okay, there was one. Oh no, I'm actually not saying that. no, because it makes me seem deranged. Like it makes me seem like an.
No, man, we know. Like, okay, we see each other a lot. I know you're not gay. Just say it.
No, not in that way.
Okay.
Nah, like a lot of them are about like being chased or like violence or of some sort. Things like that, like scary dreams or like stressful dreams, and then I wake up feeling like I've lived a whole other day in my sleep.
Yeah.
Like it's so vivid and I can recall them, and I'm like, I don't even really feel that rested because
I'm so scared.
because I was just living a whole other life.
Okay.
Like the dreams span over like hours. They span over like a full day. So it's not just like a little snippet of a thing.
Yeah.
And every time, and then one of my clients started taking zinc and magnesium, and we like mentioned it in passing, and he was like, I'm getting the same shit. My dreams are going crazy. And then I wonder, is there a level of like expectation that is going to give you weird dreams that maybe it does start giving you weird dreams? I don't know. But consistently when I don't take it, I find I don't sleep as deeply, but I find my dreams aren't as crazy. But yeah, consistently bizarre, really vivid, really intense dreams. I'll tell you what the dream
I'd love
after.
to know. Yeah, you will. I'd love to know what's going on there. If anybody knows, let us know.
I might
look it up. The only thing I can imagine, or from my like limited knowledge, is the better your sleep is, the more time you spend in REM and the more time you spend in the deepest sleep.
Yeah.
So if zinc and magnesium is improving your sleep, then you're spending more time in that like REM part of the cycle, and you'll be dreaming vividly. Where if you struggle to stay in or enter REM,
You're not going to access that sort of...
that like high level of vividness in the dream. But that's I doubt, that seems too shallow. It must be something to do with like something that's, I don't know.
Yeah, something getting released. Yeah, crazy though. Crazy. Anyway, what else is going on? I find caffeine really fucks... What, you're going to say something?
No.
I was going to say caffeine really, really fucks up my sleep.
Yeah, I know it does now.
I cannot... Because I was saying, like, I used to take loads of caffeine at like 6 p.m. And I can't remember because it was too many years ago, but I think I would have been fine, like going to bed. Now if I take caffeine after 1 p.m, I will just be staring at the ceiling all night. And then I was like in the nutrition course, oh man, this banger. Like there's so many interesting things in this nutrition course, but it's talking about the different rates that people metabolize caffeine. And there's a certain like gene that you can have that impacts the rate at which you metabolize it, and impacts like the efficacy or like the sensations that you get from caffeine. Very, very interesting. Because have you heard before that like the half-life is 10 hours or something? Yeah, something along those lines. Basically, it's like, well, maybe on average, but the variance is...
Way too much.
Yeah, it can go way higher or lower than that. And I think I'm someone who I'm much slower to metabolize it because I feel the effects like a long time. There's even sometimes where I find if I'm taking caffeine like every day and kind of later, I won't sleep a lot, but I'll wake up as if I'm kind of still feeling the benefits of the caffeine. So I'll wake up feeling like energized early in the morning, but then I'll have a crash, say at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up entirely, but I've definitely felt that. Something I'm pissed about, okay? Something I'm pissed about is people who say like they function better on like 6 hours sleep.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I don't know if I believe it. Man, I heard... Okay, go.
No, I'm going to even add in a little bit. I don't know if you agree on this. When someone's like, yeah, if I sleep 9 hours, I feel worse.
Yeah!
Or it's like, oh, if I sleep anywhere past 8 hours, oh my God, I'm so tired. I don't think you are.
Yeah, like
Are you?
That really perplexes me, and it perplexes me because it's not my own experience. But then I'm like, okay, just because I haven't experienced it doesn't mean that it's not true. So if they're saying it, I don't want to say you're a liar.
But
But yeah, like I just don't, like I'm trying to think the mechanism through which that would be possible. That you sleep more and feel worse and you feel better on less sleep. Because I have heard people saying it, but I'm wondering, are you telling them, do you believe, maybe they believe, like they're not lying, they're not purposely lying, but are you like misinterpreting it something, or are you like trying to believe something, or do you have a belief and then you're trying to like shoehorn your experience to fit the belief?
Yeah.
Am I trying to do that by saying
that we could?
Am I trying to do that right now?
Could be.
I don't buy that. Like, yeah.
Maybe.
I wish I could know. I wish I could know the answer to that.
What do you think is happening? Like after 6 hours, and they're asleep on like for like 7.5, and they wake up. What happens? And they're like, "Oh my god, I'm so tired."
I cannot. That's what I'm saying. I can't think of any
Because
mechanism
anytime I
where that
get a
makes
couple
sense.
extra hours sleep, I'm
Superman.
Yeah, I'm like, oh.
And everyone thought like sleep is like the biggest performance enhancer, and all the best athletes in the world sleep like 9 hours a night, and we just know sleep is like it's like anabolic. It's like restorative for all these like processes that are going on. And yeah, I think it, to me, the most like what makes the most sense is that it's like a belief that you have that you don't. If you believe you don't need a lot of sleep, then maybe you are like forcing yourself to think that way, and then you are. I heard some like Tony Robbins thing where it's like if I actually can't even remember what it was, but it was like I'm trying to think of the way to word it properly. If I tell you to like see as many red things in the room as possible, you'll start seeing things that are like kind of orange and kind of burgundy, and start calling them red so that it can like fit in with that belief that you have. That's the kind of the gist of what I would think is if you have the belief that you don't need a lot of sleep, you start looking for evidence to back up that belief, even stuff that may not really be there or may not be super in line with reality. I don't know. That is something that confuses me, and that's something that I wish I knew more answers to. I wish I could definitively say. But then I wonder, are there people who do have some sort of genetic predisposition to be able to function off lower sleep? I heard that's one of the things that they are like looking for in like the special forces, like the Navy SEALs, people who can perform sleep deprived, because like there's a certain amount of like there's a certain subsection of the population who just would not be able to make through it at all, because I find I'm really like sensitive to sleep. If I get like 7 hours, I would feel exhausted, and if I get 9 hours, I feel good. And if I get any less than my normal amount, and maybe it's because my routine is so structured and so like repetitive that I'm so in tune with how I feel when I feel good that if I feel even like 1% not as good, it's like very evident. But like if I was consistently sleeping 6 hours, I would feel awful. And there's been times where when we're traveling, if I'm getting like 6 hours for 2 or 3 days, I'm noticeably way more like tetchy and irritable. Like my social battery is way lower. I'm like, this is not even my personality. I'm like, I feel like I'm being a different person. I have the same thoughts in my head. It's my same brain and my same body. But like the way I'm like outwardly expressing myself is it's like so tangibly different. I don't like this. Whereas I think there's just maybe a section of people who can perform better sleep deprived. They don't get as many of those negative implications. They function better rather than it just being like willpower. I don't know.
I can only imagine that if someone only ever gets 6 hours and they have life success, as you would, it's like they've just gotten used to that's their like baseline and that's what's good. And maybe I could be wrong here, because I don't mean to. As all we're saying, if as with all that we're saying, if someone's listening and they genuinely feel this, I don't mean to say you're stupid or anything. I'd love to hear your reasoning. It's more like if you're always getting 6 hours sleep, I don't know if saying you function best off 6 hours sleep. What that might mean is it suits your day best to get 6 hours sleep, as in you have things to do until 12 and you get up at 6, okay. And then if you still function well, I imagine that is probably happening because if this person is always getting 6 hours sleep, then it's like their body has that's their baseline.
Yeah, and that's what they're like, mentally.
But like if they could get 8 hours sleep, I believe they would function even better. Or just feel even better. But some people, crazy hour jobs, crazy demanding life setups.
This is an interesting one as well. Going through again the nutrition course, like so much of it is just nothing to do with food at all. It's like about the lifestyle side of things. It's about stress. They actually listened to a book at the moment. You said you had read it or read most of it, When the Body Says No, about stress and the link between like psychological, emotional stress and then like physical manifestations of disease and pain and shit going wrong. Very, 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 very interesting. I think the book was recommended from the nutrition course. I think that's where I found it. But what was I talking about there? Anyway, they're talking about like sleep and stuff and the circadian rhythm and how we've evolved these like light and dark cycles and how that has an impact on the hormones that are being like secreted at different times and yada, yada, yada. All very interesting. But then working like night shifts or... particularly like variable night shifts. So like sometimes you're on nights and then you might be on a week of day shifts and then you might be on nights again. How that's like
cancer.
Yeah, I'm actually, I think they have now like recognized that as a carcinogen. Like it increases all cause mortality. It's just so bad for you, which is tough because there's obviously people who need to do those jobs. Like there's nurses and firemen and truck drivers and
everything.
Yeah, but how damaging that is. It's been an interesting challenge, perhaps, in coaching, working with people who say work night shifts because you're just trying to structure it as best as possible. You're trying to like make the best circumstances you can within those conditions, but acknowledging that the conditions overall are like heavily leaning in a negative way. You're just trying to optimize it or like damage limitation as best you can, make them feel as good as possible. But yeah, it's tough.
Some people just do it on a Saturday night willingly.
Every
go
Saturday
out.
night.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the things that they talked about in the nutrition course is like weekend like variability and how people will stay out until
8 a.m. It's crazy.
I just I just physically wouldn't be able to do it because I feel like if I feel so bad getting like 7.5 hours sleep. Oh, if I did that, I'd be so destroyed, man. I just wouldn't be able to function. Like, I think I would just like short circuit.
You know what I wonder is, does your body just kickstart into the next day again and just be tired? But like the actual circadian rhythm,
because of the day and
your circadian rhythm doesn't pause. It still just goes through that like cycle.
Mad.
But I'd say. But eventually, after a certain amount of no sleep, you just start hallucinating because your body has to get REM.
Man, there's a guy in Australia. How long did he do it for? Why did he do it? Oh no, he stayed awake, I think, for like 4 days. Just as like a challenge. Now, 4 days, I don't know if it was that. It might. For some reason, I think it could have been. It was a few days anyway. He just stayed awake for a few days just to see what would happen. This same guy, he has the like Guinness World Record for the quickest time to pull a Jeep 100 kilometers.
So many other competitors.
He
really beat them.
He booked out an airport and just like dragged the Jeep around the airport. I think it took him like a day and a half, man. I think it took him a day and a half. He then
the person who took 2 days is raging.
He then he tried to get like the world record for like the most. I think he has maybe the most calories burned on a salt bike in 24 hours, and then tried to get the dip record. But have you ever heard of? And I don't know how to actually say the word, but I'm gonna just say general thing of the word. It's called like rhabdomyolysis or something. Where basically the rate of muscle breakdown is happening so excessively that it becomes like poisonous and like toxic in your blood. I'm pretty sure he was like, he either caught rhabdo or was like on the verge of rhabdo and just had to stop it entirely. Nice. Like said that he just like couldn't even move anymore.
Has anyone got rhabdo? Let us know. I want to know what it's like.
But yeah, he stayed awake for, maybe it was 2 days. Maybe it was 2 or 3 days. He stayed awake just to see what would happen. Maybe it was 100 hours. I think it was 100 hours that he stayed awake for. And he like documented it on his story the whole time. And it was crazy. He was like, he's like, I'm walking to work because if I sit down anywhere, I will fall asleep. So he walked like 7 hours to work. And And he was like sending, he was like recording the pavement, and he was like, I would love to fall asleep on this right now, or like a bush. He's like, I would love to fall asleep
That's
in this
horrible.
bush right
7-hour walk is horrible as well, bro.
now. He's like, it's the only way to stay awake, like. And then he needed people to just like keep him company, and he's saying how he was going delirious and everything like that. Crazy.
Is it narcolepsy? Is like the sudden onset?
Oh, where you just.
Yes. I bet that would you just like instill yourself with narcolepsy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you can refuse to give your body it, so it's like, I'm going to take it.
I'm pretty sure he said it took him like a month or maybe even a little bit longer to just like feel right after that.
That's horrible.
Yeah, he just did it for the crack, like to see how it was.
Man, that's like how some movies are made, man. Yeah. As in, like, the characters just don't seem to sleep. It's like 3 days later. It's like, when did you have a nap? Like, there's no way you're functioning.
You're still
like
going.
that.
Like, yeah, very, very, very interesting. Anyway, this has been
What's the longest you've gone without sleeping?
I don't even know if I've done
Or like the latest you've stayed up or whatever.
I don't even know if I've gone into the next day. Like I've maybe up
Past 12.
like maybe 8 or 9 a.m.
Yeah, oh, that's nasty.
Yeah.
And then when did you sleep till? Probably only like 1.
Yeah, like 3.
It's
maybe,
like you can't break your sleep cycle. Your brain's in a pattern. Like.
And you get like a nap, and then you're fucked up for however many like days it takes to reset that.
Man, you know someone super strong that works nights?
Who?
Jordan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be interesting to
think
ask about that. Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
That'd be interesting to ask about that. How she manages that.
Craziness.
Damn. What did she do?
Police.
Ah.
I think.
Jeez.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's not at all. Secret agents.
Yeah, something like that.
What else? What else is going on? Got my bloods back.
Tell us.
Fascinating. Really fascinating. Is it something you have done or would do or would consider?
The last time I went for a blood test, he was like, are you looking for anything in particular? And I was like, oh, just like a general blood thing. He was like, I can test for certain things. And I was like, and he was like, have you been having like unprotected? Like, no, dude, just take my bloods, please, bro. Yeah, no, but as we learned, what the doctor will do is different to what like a full workup would do.
Yeah.
Like you got everything on a cool little app as well.
Yeah.
Tell the people about it.
So it's something that I had been like a little bit aware of for maybe the past like year or year and a half. But I was not going to take any action on it. Being realistic, I was not going to actually book in and do it. I think I had just heard a few people that I knew, like more experienced lifters, talking about the importance of it for general health. And I was like, like that would probably be something that is good to do. It's probably a pretty comprehensive look at your health and well-being. But I'm kind of scared to do that. And as I was getting heavier, I'm like, I know this is getting worse. So I really don't want to know right now, to be honest, because what I don't know won't hurt me kind of at the moment. So that was my outlook a little bit. And then at the same time, I was like, I don't even know how to do this. Like I wouldn't even I haven't been sick in like properly sick, having to go to the doctors in years. Like I don't even know. I don't know any of the deal of where do I go to get a blood test? I don't know how it works. So I just put it on the long finger. Wasn't something that I was really gonna do probably. And then one of my clients got it done, and he's a similar age. Like he's been lifting a similar amount of time, and I was like, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. Come on. He inspired me to get it done. And then he was saying that there's a company, Kirill. He was the sub-junior 93 world champ in 2019. I had the leaving cert when that comp was going on. So I didn't get to go to that. Wasn't even selected. I was pissed about that one because I would have come second. I would have got a gold deadlift medal, would have come second. And when you're a sub-junior, that's like the biggest thing in the world. So anyway, I've known him for years and years and years and years. So I was like, oh, okay, there's a company and it's literally right next to the gym. So I was like, let me just see what they have available. They had a bunch of different packages that tested for different stuff, and I didn't really know what the different things were, what they meant or what they were testing for. And there were some packages where it was like a super mega comprehensive full blood panel. It cost like €500. and they tested like 150 different biomarkers or something, they said. And I was like, I don't know if I need all that. And then there was another one that was like specifically for athletes, apparently.
Okay.
And they tested like 80 biomarkers. And then I was looking up, if you just go to your GP and you get a blood test there, it tests for like 5 to 10 things. And I was like, maybe I'll go for like the one that tests for 80. And then in fairness, it was actually pricey enough. I think it was $220 maybe? $220, but you get 2 blood tests and you get done first, and then you can come back in 6 months or at any period that you want to test them again and see whatever the difference between them is. So I'm probably going to go again, I would say at the end of the deficit, but maybe give myself like 4 weeks of eating at maintenance to level things back out again from the bottom point of the deficit to then get testing again. But yeah, there's this company Randox, that's who I went with. And
isn't that what you put in the bath when you're having a bath?
Radox, I think. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's similar.
So yeah, I booked it and I was like, I didn't even know what the process was, how they take their blood out of you. I was like, I'd prefer to keep my blood in me, really. But I suppose it's got to come out somehow. I didn't know. You can do home tests where it's like a finger prick and it's just like a tiny bit. But I was like, nah, they're going in there. Like they're taking some blood out of me.
Yeah, they are.
So anyway, I went in. It was actually super straightforward, and I didn't know if it was going to be painful. It wasn't painful. It was fine. But I was surprised the amount of blood that they were taking. I was like, this seems like a lot. They took
how much?
Like 7 vials that were like that big. Yeah. So she like hooked it up, and I was like, okay, that's done. And then she took it away and put a new one on. I was like, oh. And she's like putting it in the tray, and then she gets a new one.
Leave me some blood.
So she took like 7 vials, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of blood. My finger started tingling a little bit.
You've never given blood, have you done it?
No, but I'm looking at that now. I'm considering doing that now.
Yeah.
Now that I've had my bloods taken and it was fine, I would consider doing that. I think that would be a good thing to do.
Be cool.
Have you?
I'll get your blood if you're giving it away. No, I haven't. No.
Do you know what blood type you are?
No, sexy.
Yeah, I've no idea either. So that'd be cool to figure that one out.
Well, anyway.
But yeah, did the test, super straightforward, super easy, took 5-10 minutes, did a urine test as well, peed in the cup.
That wasn't even anything to do with the test.
Anyway, yeah, did that. It was super, super easy. Then I think like 2 days later, got the results back, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yep.
I was like, yo.
You showed me.
I'm healthier than I thought I was. They did like a body... the kind of composition analysis thing as well, where BMI came back obese. Hell yeah.
Of course.
No surprises there. Measured like your waist circumference and everything. My waist circumference was 1 centimeter over the acceptable range, they said. So I'm...
Where's your waist?
I think it's like kind of just a little bit below belly button.
Okay.
Or around your belly button.
Yeah.
But then they also measure your hips, and then you get a hip to waist ratio. And my hip to waist ratio was good.
Yeah,
they said that.
Yeah, you got them big hips.
Yeah, they said that one was good. So apparently there's something about
did that go around your cheeks?
No, it was a little bit above the cheeks, upper cheek.
If it went around the cheeks, man they're like, damn.
Yeah. Man, Nathaniel, he would go crazy, man. The hip to waist.
He'd be like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's so wrong.
It broke the chart. It broke the chart, Nathan. Nathan broke the chart.
Wait, Nathaniel or Nathan?
Both of them, man. They both got them. Wait, are you asking which I prefer? Like,
prefer is fucking insane. Prefer is insane. I was just asking who you meant. You said. Wait, you asked which I prefer? I was like, I did this before. Here's what I think.
I hope everyone who's listening knows what we're talking about. But anyway, that was funny.
God.
Nah, my hip to waist was good, they said. That was optimal. Yeah, so then everything else was actually great. I was way healthier than I thought I was.
You were.
The only things that were in the undesirable range.
Test was extremely low.
They did test for testosterone. That was really interesting to see.
Yeah.
But no, cholesterol. And this was one of the ones that I was like apprehensive about. I was apprehensive about cholesterol and then like blood glucose, like anything relating to diabetes. Not because I had any symptoms, just because I was like, I was eating a lot of calories. I was carrying excess body fat. I was eating like processed foods. Who knows what that like the impact of that is. And the waist measurement, actually, there's something to do, and why they do the waist to hip is there's something about having a lot of your like adipose tissue around your midsection that is like strongly correlated with just all sorts of like cardiovascular diseases and all-cause mortality, as opposed to having more around your lower body. So they call it like being apple-shaped, where your midsection is fat, as opposed to like pear-shaped, where your lower body is thicker. And there is a way higher risk of like all these conditions and like metabolic diseases with more fat around your midsection, right? Yeah, as opposed to around there. So that's where like BMI and stuff is useful for like general population. So there was that. But anyway, cholesterol, a little iffy. Total cholesterol was good, they said. That was in the desirable range. But the LDL, which is like the bad cholesterol, that was like on the border, but on the bad side of the border, just over what we would want to see, apparently, of like the desirable range. And then HDL, which is like the good cholesterol, that was on the lower end, so you want more of that good stuff. And then in the nutrition course I was learning about that, like why that is the case, and I'm not going to try explaining because it's kind of complicated in terms of like lipoproteins around the cell and how much fat that they're transporting, and the HDL means that it's like a higher density lipoprotein and it's transporting more shit back, more good stuff back, or it's like collecting. I'm not going to I need
this
to
guy said he's not going to explain it. Literally explains it. I'm not going to explain it, but
the low density ones are like the big ones, and they're transporting basically fats towards cells.
Okay.
And then the high density lipoproteins are, from what I gathered, like collecting them up and bringing them away. So you kind of want more HDL and less LDL.
And you said you're going to do this how?
So one of the most significant ways that you can impact this is just losing excess body fat. And again, it's so fat. Like the nutrition course that I'm doing is so good. It's so good because it's like digging into all this stuff that is, again, like not really to do with food. It is to do with food, but like kind of distantly connected. But basically when you are carrying like excess body fat, how that affects like hormone secretions and all the different like processes that are going on under the hood, literally just like losing body fat kind of resolves so many of the issues that you're facing, and so many of the issues that do crop up in illnesses and diseases and whatnot are just correlated to having excess body fat. And if you lose excess body fat, generally the things that you would have to do are like health promoting behaviors, so they're just going to be better for you overall. So if you are losing body fat, you probably be pretty certain that you're moving in a direction of being healthier. Obviously beyond a certain point, if you're like dropping below 10% body fat, you're probably eating into reserves where you don't need to be losing any more, and losing more body fat in that circumstance is not going to be more beneficial for your health. But if you're 35% body fat coming down to 25%, 20%, 18%, that's likely going to make you a healthier person all around, and reduce the likelihood of getting any of these diseases. So anyway, losing body fat more is probably going to be the most significant thing that I can do to get the cholesterol in order. But then there's also a ratio between your total cholesterol and then the HDL cholesterol, and that was in the desirable range too. So that was fine.
Okay.
So it's basically just that these are slightly out of whack. But if I get them in order, literally everything else was great. Everything else, the blood glucose, that was in line. I was a little bit iffy about that. Not because I had any symptoms, but just because I was like, I don't want that to happen. And I was eating a lot of processed foods and I was carrying excess body fat. I don't want to get to a stage where I'm like pre-diabetic. So being conscious of that was all good. There was two things. There was creatine kinase, I think that's how you say it. And then there was myoglobin, I think. And they were like way out of the desirable range. They were like really high in the red, in the way that they like describe it or convey the results. And I was like, yo, what the hell? And then I saw it was like creatine something. And I was like, is it because I'm supplementing with creatine? Is that what like the issue is? That why this is so high? But I looked it up and it's essentially, so like the reference range of what is desirable was like 300 units of whatever it is. And I think I was like 995. So I was like, I was like 3 times out of the upper limit of what they were wanting to see.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up, and basically it just said it's like I don't know what it is. It's something that gets released from your muscles when they get broken down from intense exercise.
Yeah.
And then the myoglobin is the same thing. It's just something that gets released from your muscles from intense exercise. So I looked it up and it was like, oh, this is actually not a problem in active people or people who weight train. So that was totally fine. And then everything else was in order. Testosterone. I was quite interested to see how my test is going to come out, because obviously you want it to come back and it to tell you your test is like through the roof and you're an animal and you're like, yeah, you are so sick.
Reproduce now.
You are literally the sickest. So I don't know, I've heard testosterone conveyed in like nanograms per deciliter, but that wasn't the way that they conveyed the results for this. I think it was like nanomoles per liter or something. And the reference range that they prescribed is like 8 to 30. That was kind of the ranges of these units of nanomoles per whatever. And I was 22 and a half. So that was like upper half.
Nice.
So I was like, hell yeah.
Upper half. Yeah. Nice. Oh, nice.
I was like, fuck yeah, I'm a beast.
Yeah.
But then, this is something that I didn't know at all. There's another thing called SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin. And my sex hormone binding globulin was also in the upper half. But that's not good.
Oh.
But it's not that it's not good. So it was still in the desirable range. The desirable range is here. I was just above like the halfway, getting close to high.
Yeah.
And basically the SHBG binds to testosterone and basically like just inhibits the testosterone. So if your SHBG is higher, it's binding to more test and it's leaving you with less free test. So then they also test your free test, and my free test was just below like half of the desirable range. So the desirable range is here. It was kind of just in the middle. And then I was like, why the hell is my SHBG a little higher? And then it said in periods of energy restriction, that gets elevated because more of your body's like resources are being put towards just keeping you like healthy and alive and functioning.
Cool.
And less of it is going towards like reproductive stuff, because if you're starving, it's not time to be making babies. You got to just stay alive first. That's kind of that would be the evolutionary reason for it, I guess. So basically it just said if you're in energy restriction, that would be like normal or be expected, and then the further into energy restriction you go, say for people who are doing a competition prep and they're sub 10%, they're getting to 8, 7, 6, 5. The SHBG would likely be very high, and they would have probably pretty low free test. That's why natural bodybuilders have to do like that kind of getting their hormones back in check after a comp or after a show, where they eat as normal or they try like they're reverse dieting or whatever, but you see like a big increase in body weight initially to try kind of get your hormones and everything functioning again. So that's why after the cut, I'll probably go back to a period of maintenance before I get things tested again, because I don't want to get them tested when maybe all the metabolic functions are at like a depressed state from the end of the cut. Go back to maintenance, bump up the calories again, and then we go from there.
Cool.
But it's interesting. I felt like a grown-up.
Cool,
I felt like a grown-up, and seeing those things and now being aware of those things and knowing what to look for, super interesting. And I would encourage people to go get it done. And I remember me hearing people say that I would encourage you to go get it done, and then it kind of planted the seed, and then thanks to maybe that being in the back of my mind, a year or so later I did get it done. So hopefully this can plant the seed for anyone else who is considering getting it done, because I do think it would be something that is good to be aware of, and maybe it gives you results that you don't want to see, but maybe that's necessary for you to take some steps in a direction to make yourself healthier and whatnot. Because I definitely had the mindset of like, what I don't know won't hurt me, but it definitely will still hurt you, even if you don't know. That's something that will 100% come around and still hurt you. So you would probably be better served to know, and then you can take the appropriate steps to address it and make sure that you are healthy and whatnot. My blood pressure was a little high as well. So that's something that I would like to bring down, and just getting leaner and getting filthier, getting fitter and healthier, getting filthier. Will just help that.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a little bit more like cardiovascular activity. I'm thinking of maybe doing like a little bit more like fucking spin bike or something.
Okay.
Like after a squat session or after a deadlift session, just do fucking 30 minutes on the bike.
Okay.
Swimming, climbing. Lifting. Still training 6 days a week. See, that's something I'm conscious of from the last couple of episodes. And even when I'm in the gym, I don't want to come across that I am like, I don't know, like removing myself from the world of powerlifting. I'm still training 6 days a week, and I'm still like super heavily involved in it. But this is something that I was trying to reconcile a little bit, because if I'm like, I think it is like a necessary step, say doing the things that are not involved with training, to keep myself sane during a period where I'm in a deficit. Like I now have like ticked off being 20 kilos body weight down from my heaviest. 20 kilos is a lot. And if I heard someone else saying that, I'd be like, oh my God. Like I would expect all of your lifts to feel like shit. I would expect that everything's going to feel awful. And somewhat it does. And I was kind of thinking, how can I start like communicating stuff from what I've learned from the deficit, say on the podcast, so that I'm actually bringing some value, as opposed to just like fucking rambling about climbing, rambling about something else, which is not like it's relevant in something that I'm doing at the moment, but I would still like to be talking about powerlifting and giving information that is going to be relevant to power lifters. And yeah, there's a few things. I think one of the things I've noticed, say with the other stuff that I'm doing, say the swimming and the climbing in particular, is like with powerlifting, there's not really any sort of shortcut in terms of we are waiting for like a physiological adaptation to take place that just requires days and weeks and months for it to actually happen. Like you're trying to be building more muscle mass. You can't like shortcut that process short of taking like anabolic steroids. But you come in, you train, you provide a stimulus, and then you wait for the adaptations to occur, and then you see the result of that weeks or months down the line. Then obviously the more experience you're getting, the longer that time horizon is, and then it's ages before you're seeing the actual results of the work that you're putting in. You're not hitting PBs all the time. It's getting longer. Whereas with the stuff like the climbing or the swimming that I have been doing, there's way less of a like physical learning curve. Learning curve is not the right word, but there's way less of like a physical demand in terms of the adaptations that you're making. It's much more like cognitive. It's like skill-based learning as opposed to waiting for like a physiological adaptation. So there's stuff that you can do pretty consistently. Like you can climb consistently, provided you're not like destroying the skin on your hands or something, or like your forearms. You can do that pretty consistently, and the limiting variable is like your understanding of technique and stuff like that. So you're able to see like really quick noob gains because you're able to start learning the techniques and then putting that in place and then getting better. Same with swimming. Like it's the technical side of things rather than the actual like fitness, which is the limiting variable. So it's easy to see like quick gains with that. But there will get to a stage where you've seen a lot of the technical gains, and then it will be like a longer grind. You'll start to plateau with that, and the amount of effort that it would take to improve those skills will start becoming more like it was with powerlifting. But in the short term, while I'm not seeing those gains with powerlifting, going to something that is more of a skill-based learning that I can see quick gains with has been super beneficial to just give me something to feel good about. While my numbers are going down, if powerlifting was like the 100% focus, that would feel pretty miserable because it's taking up all of my energy and time and like mental capacity. Whereas if I'm doing these other things, it's giving me something where I can win. It's giving me something where I can feel good. And it also still allows me to do powerlifting, like to do all of the maintenance stuff required with powerlifting and have wins elsewhere. So it's like a necessary in the short term. And these are not things that I think I'm going to stick with necessarily indefinitely. but they're serving a purpose right now so that I don't go insane and feel awful and feel depressed because my lifts are going down. And then when I've reached the bottom of the deficit and I'm eating in a surplus again, or I'm like getting bigger, like training is in a more anabolic environment, I can imagine myself doubling down just on weight training, which has been interesting. One of the biggest things I've learned from the deficit is like, just don't do what I've done. Like don't go into a deficit for like 6 months. If like powerlifting performance is your main concern. Because it's not fun, powerlifting wise. Now, there's so many other health benefits which has made it worth it for me because they're maybe they're of higher value for me at the moment. But from like a powerlifting perspective, I would probably not want people to be in a deficit for more than like 2 blocks, like 8 weeks maybe. Because when you're in a deficit for a longer period than that, it just starts to suck. It's miserable. You will not enjoy training, particularly if training is 100% of your, like, that's your thing. That's the only thing that you're like putting all your eggs are in that basket. So just don't do that. But then that has been something that I'm grappling with in terms of, but I'm so glad that I did go up and get that heavy in the first place. So that's something that I don't know how to like grapple with that in my head, because I'm glad that I did it, but then I also wouldn't recommend other people to do it. Yeah.
Why are you glad you did it?
Because I was able to achieve all of these things that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. Like, say I was able to compete at all these international competitions. I did 10 internationals. I did 6 European championships and 4 world championships. And that was by the age of 20. Was it? That was by the age of, I think I was still 23. So I've done 10 internationals, like really got tons of experience, met so many people, was able to set all these records, get whatever medals at these competitions. I would attribute that to my willingness to go up and say, to bear the burden of like some excess body fat and being uncomfortable with body composition for a while for the benefit. Like if we go back and listen to those podcasts, and I'm glad we recorded those podcasts in that kind of period of my life, because it's something that we talked about quite frequently of like, fuck, am I so insecure that I can't deal with some excess body fat for like 1 more year? For like while I'm going to be a junior, I know it's going to be temporary and then I can lose it afterwards and Like I'm glad I had that conviction because it worked, like it paid off. But I know it came with like struggles. I know it came with periods where I was really like unhappy. I know it came with periods where I was complaining to you all the time. It came with periods where it was tough to walk up the stairs and you feel really strong in the gym for the couple of hours you're there, but then every other physical activity is draining and demanding, and you have to eat so much food and you have to spend so much money on so much food. Like there was pros and cons, and I'm glad that I did it. But, and this is a similar question that I think we've kicked around before of like, would you recommend to your clients or your lifters to do all of the things that you have done? And I don't think so. No,
I think it's good to live what you live so that you can pick out what was good and bad. It's also not common for someone to be in a position where if they gain as much as as they can possibly happily gain, feasibly gain, that it increases their chances of going to internationals. As in, like, that's quite a niche situation. Like I think even if you had like lifters who were potentially going international, it's like sometimes going up a class does not increase their chances. And so, like, you know, that's quite a specific case. Maybe if it came to that very specific case, you had a 21-year-old who was weighing 103, and it was like, okay, the 120s is you would make the team at 120. It's up to you. I don't know if it's worth the big cut you're going to have to do after, but it's up to you.
Yeah, because it's interesting to say, like, the times where...
Could you have done it at 109?
I wouldn't have been as competitive internationally, I'd say.
What do you think you would have hit 109 by the end of the...
Probably around, like, 800. I hit 800 at 109.
Okay.
But I imagine I probably would have stayed around that.
Okay.
Which... would have been the difference between say placing
Yeah.
5th at Worlds to then placing 10th, or placing 3rd at Euros to then placing
You're so good.
8th, 9th. Yeah.
You're so good.
Yeah, and I think that moment as well made me like more satisfied to like pack it in, because I was like, fuck, like it's gonna be hard to top that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to beat that at all. Yeah.
So good.
But yeah, I think in general, and again, I will probably start making more content around this. More frequent cycles of, say, being in a surplus and a deficit will probably be beneficial for most people, so that you are not getting too fat. Because there's a point at which you go beyond where you're like, you're getting to hold like quite a bit of body fat. And again, it's very individual, like what amount of body fat an individual is comfortable holding. I think I have an added lens now around like health and like actual like longevity and making sure that you are like a healthy individual. And then you have to juggle, like if you're chasing like like high performance in sports, that probably comes at sacrifice to health. But you would probably want to be aware of that sacrifice. You probably don't want to jump into that sacrifice unknowingly. So trying to encourage that. And then like when you're coaching, I coach a broad spectrum of people. So there are some people who just want to train recreationally and they want to be healthy and they want to be fit. And then there are some people who are maybe more in line with how I was when I was in my like late teens and early 20s and are willing to sacrifice that. They're force feeding themselves and and the time where you're like getting the gags or like vomiting after eating a meal because you're that full. Like I'm not recommending that to none of my clients. I'm not telling my clients to do none of that. But there are some people who are like, they are so dedicated to it and they want it so bad that they are willing to put themselves in the position where like maybe health and well-being is not like on the slider of values. It is down here and performance is up there. It's an interesting one to grapple with, particularly as like getting more experienced and kind of not being in that phase as much myself. And just having a new lens to view it through, but still I also don't want to fall into a position where it's like say maybe I'm personally more health conscious now. That doesn't mean that all of the years of experience that I have where I was not and I was willing to like if I can have the gags or get sick after eating a meal because I need to make sure that I'm like staying on the rate of progression with the surplus that I need to and blah blah. That those years are gone. Like I still know that and I still relate to that and I can still empathize with that. So I don't want to, I don't know, how do I word it? I don't want to, I still have all of that in my brain, you know? I know what it's like. I know what it feels like. I have the experience of that. And that's something that I was conscious with of like giving the impression that I'm focusing on other things rather than my own powerlifting training. I'm still in the world. I'm still training 6 days a week. I'm still doing all that, but I just need to find some other stuff to keep me going while that's not as rewarding or doesn't feel as good. Yeah.
And then will there be a point where powerlifting training goes back up?
The
slider of priority?
Probably. But that will have to be at the bottom of the deficit. And when it is, it will be with the new lens of, okay, I have these like priorities with my health that I want to maintain and adhere to. I have this new frame for what I deem as acceptable or desirable in terms of holding excess body fat. And I'll work within those confines. Whereas when, like I said, in that like very unique scenario, being a junior, being in the 120 class, the confines of what I was willing to do were much broader. Of like, okay, I will get up to 117 because that will make me the most competitive that I can be, and I know it's going to be temporary and blah blah. Whereas now I don't have that time pressure anymore. I think the time pressure was a big one. That you're willing to like, kind of what's that question where it's like if you knew you were going to die and X amount of time, like what would you do? You kind of just like send it.
Yeah, you do.
You
You
just
send
send
it,
it.
yeah,
Like, whereas I knew there was this like time scale where the juniors was ending, that I was just like willing to send it. I was willing to get as big and heavy as possible, because I knew that time was going to be over, and then that pressure was going to be off, and then I could come back down in body weight.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
People are allowed to send it.
Yeah.
Like, so long as they're aware of the implications of sending it. Yeah, they're allowed.
Man.
It's like the adults make their own decisions.
Yeah.
So long as it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Yeah. Steroids.
What about them?
Another person I've competed against popped. We
Oh,
won't name them, but yeah, shame.
Yeah.
Shame. You kind of, yeah. Shame. I don't know enough about it, but I've seen it, and it's disappointing. I do think it is becoming more prevalent in powerlifting. I think it was always prevalent. I think it was always prevalent, but I do think it's more prevalent than people would want to believe, unfortunately. It seems to be in the 120s, man.
But you know who I think isn't on steroids?
Who?
And is 120? Lonzo.
Yeah.
And he posted the other day, I think it was 385. No warm up. Just put the plates on and did it.
No, he fucking didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Okay, will we just wrap up the podcast?
Yeah.
We'll wrap this up. I need to go see this video. Nonso, actually, still haven't been on Instagram. Instagram like 2 and a bit months. It's crazy. So beneficial. We can talk about that next time.
Yeah.
But
we've been doing these more frequently, so we will be back soon.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah.
We'll get another one done.
Yeah.
And let us know if there's anything you want us to cover. We've always loads to talk about. So.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.